Hello guys, welcome to my channel Analytics with Ashish. So today we are going to talk very interesting topic and very important one, which is version control system, which is important for any developer or any fresher who wants to be a potential developer. So let's talk about version control system, VCS. Okay. So before going into it, let's understand why we need this. So all of us, whether we are working on a big project or whether we are working on a small program, we always have a folder, right? So we always have a structure, like we have a folder, and then in that folder we have any kind of file, suppose test dot any file. And what do we do actually, because we keep on making the changes, then what we do, we store it like version 1, version 2, version 3, and so on. Sometimes we have so many versions, right? All of you may have experienced this at some point of your life, and then the problem with this is, after sometimes when you look back into this, then you don't remember that what is the changes you made from version 3 to version 4 or version 2 to version 3. You keep these versions so that for some reason, if you have to go back, then you can look into that version, but then you forget because it becomes so many, if your program is big, then you don't want to go into and read every single line, so it becomes very difficult for you to track that down, right? So that is the kind of problem. Many of the developers have the same kind of problem, and that's why they come up with a VCS, version control system, which basically deals with a similar kind of problem, and it brings a lot of plus points. So few of the plus point with version control systems is collaboration. So if in a bigger scale, if for suppose you have a team and 4 of you, if you are in college, then you are working on your major project, and then there are 4 other members, then how do you collaborate with that? So that kind of problem we can do with that kind of problem we can take care with VCS. The other problem which we can take off the version 1, which I just have seen, okay, how do we track that, what changes we have done in which version? So that also we can track with VCS. The other thing is backup. For some reason, if you lose that folder, then you don't have any backup, right? And then you need to take care of it. Even I was always worried about that. If something happened to my laptop and I'm not able to access my hard drive, then what will I do? So for that, I started putting my codes into cloud so that I can access this. Anyway, so backup is also one of the things, because that I will explain in future, when I cover VCS more in detail. And the other thing is also the analytics, because it basically captures all the timelines, all the changes. So if you have all the data, then you can also analyze that over the period of time. So those are a few good things about version control system. So now when we understood the importance of version control system, let's understand, or let's see what are the different tools we have available in the market. So there are various tools available in the market. For example, so many, not VCS. We have most popular is GIT. Then we have some other like SVM, CVS, another actually, but the most popular which we are going to focus is the GIT one. So let's look into that one. GIT. Okay, so what is GIT? So Git is basically a tool which gives you the ability of version controlling. So basically what happened actually, you have a central repository here, central repo, and then suppose you have a team of multiple developer or multiple people who are working on the same project. Then you have a developer D1, you have developer D2, you have developer D3. So basically each of those developer will have their own copy. So they have their own copy in their own computer, and they will do all kind of, so they have their local copy here, okay, local copy 1, L2, L3, and these developers are going to work on those local files, and then they will update it. They will make any changes, update or change anything they want to do. They can do this in local computer, and then once those files are done, then they can push it back. Then they can push it back to the same repository which we have seen here. central repository. So you can think this way. So first they will create a copy, like each developer or each team member will have their own copy in their local computer. On their personal computer, they will do any kind of modification changes into that file, and then once they are done, then they can push it back to the same repository, the central repository, which is accessible to all the team members or the project members. This is just for understanding, for logical point of view. Otherwise, like what actually happen is like you pull the request from here, then you work on this thing, and then once you're done, then you again push those changes back to your central repository, but this portion is just for understanding, okay? Because the central repository, this and this, they are same. Okay, so whenever we talk about Git, there is another very important concept, which is so we have Git, and a lot of people get confused what is Git and what is GitHub. I'm sure you must have heard about GitHub as well. So Git is something which is related to your local computer, okay? Local computer, or you will also hear something about local repository in future. I will explain like what is the difference between local repository and then central repository, but just try to understand Git is a software which you need to install in your local computer, and then it has to do with your local computer, okay? And on the other hand, GitHub is basically a code hosting platform. Code hosting platform. So like for example, like when you have website, like you always host your website in something. Earlier you used to host this in like Big Rock or GoDaddy, and now you have also these big cloud provider where you can host your like Azure, GCP, and AWS. So the same way, if we want, we can host this to GitHub, or we have more other options like Bitbucket. There are other options which we can do. So they are basically code hosting platform, and then we need to do all the local changes in our local computer, and then once we are done, then we can push our code back to GitHub. So that is why we use GitHub. So Git is different, GitHub is different, and I hope you understand the difference of that. So now once that is clear, so now let's understand the concept of local repository, and then you will understand something called remote repository. So remote repository is the one which is coming from this GitHub or Bitbucket, and local repository is one where like you are working on your computer on your local machine, okay? So to use Git, the first thing, because Git is open source software which you need to install in your local computer. So first you need to install it. It is available for all the different operating system like Windows, Mac, and also for Linux. So you need to install it. You can just Google it, and then you will get the link to download. The good thing about Git for Windows is that it gives you Git Bash, which is a very nice command line tool which gives you a feel like Linux. Very colorful, and it starts with this dollar symbol, so you can use it. So once, suppose like I assume that you have already installed Git in your local computer, or if not, then you can just go down, search for Git download for Windows, and then you will get it. Once you install it with all the recommended settings, then now let's come back to the traditional way, like what you do. The first thing you do, like you create a project folder. Okay, the project folder where you are having all your files. So Git is not about it is not related for any specific language. It can be anything. It's all about file. How do you maintain your file in your local computer and also in your remote repository? So that is basically this is all about. It doesn't matter whether it is Python file or Java file or C, C++, C#, it doesn't matter, okay? So let's think in that point of view. So suppose you have a project folder, and then you created your file. You have two files like read.txt, and suppose you have another one, test.py. Okay, so that is in your project folder right now in your local machine. So you have Okay, and now in order to put this into a local repository, so right now this project folder is different from your local repository. You need to understand this. Right now this is just in your local machine, and to put this into your local repository, what you need to do is, like, here you can go to your project folder and then right click, and then you can have git bash here, or you can even access from the command line. Once you do git bash here, it will locate to this particular project folder, and then all you need to do is, first thing you need to put is git init. Once you do this git init, it will basically initialize your local repository, git repository. And once you initiate that, then your local repository is created. And now in order to add these files, now you need to add these files. So in order to add these files, you can do git add, and either you can put the name of the file, or if you want to push all the files all together, then you can use git add space and dot. Okay, once you do that, then what actually happened, there is some staging area. So there is a staging area, or some people or index or staging, anything you call it. So it is not still committed. It's like in some staging area where you can see like which file you are pushing, or which file you want to add into your git local repository. So you can see from there. So still, like, everything is in your project folder. It is not yet added to your local repository. Okay, and in order, if you want to see the which file you have added, then there is a command called git status, and then you will see all the files which are pushed into staging area. And then if you agree with that, then you can use git commit, and then whatever comment you want, so you can make any comment, and then git commit is the command basically which will push your files from staging to the local repository. So with these minimal command, these 4 commands, you will push your code from project folder, which is in your local machine, to your local repo. Okay, now once you have things in your local repo, now you can connect with this your remote repo, which can be anywhere. Now how do we deal with that? So now there are 2 things, like either you can do pull or push. So when you pull or push, then these are basically the communication with your remote repo. So suppose you want to push your changes from your local machine to the remote, then you can do the push. And if you want, if there is already a master copy of it, if there is already a feature invented and now you want to add a new feature, then first thing you need to do is, like, you need to pull that project folder into your local machine, local repository, and then you start doing the changes. Once those changes are done, then you can push back this to local to your remote repository. So I hope that you understand that importance of this. So I will create a new video where I will go into a practical implementation of it. This is just so that you understand the theoretical concept for now. So yes. So once you do, but the problem is, like, how do you connect your local repository to the remote repository? You cannot just do your pull and push. You need to have certain communication channel for that. And for that, you need to add that remote origin. So for that, you have a command git add origin remote blah blah, but which you need to do. But the concept which I'm telling you here is that you need to have that communication channel between remote repository and the local repository. Once you stabilize that channel, then you can communicate with your remote repository. There is more concept of branching as well. This is now if you want to go a little bit more in advance. So for every local repository, if you are working on different things, then you can create multiple branch here, and the same way you can have a multiple branch in remote as well. So suppose you want to dedicate one branch for particular one user, then you can create your branch, because like you have a big project, multiple people are working there, and then you want to keep like what changes you have done. So you can keep a specific branch for you in your local repository, and then same in your remote repository, and then the one which is centralized, which is always ready for the production ready code, which is in master, that is production ready code. Okay, and when you are very sure that okay, your changes or the feature which you have added, they are bug free, there is no problem, then you can push it back to your remote and master branch. To create local branch again, so I hope that you understand the concept of local repository. So you are in your local repo. By default you're in master, but if you want to create, then you need to have the command called git branch, and the branch name suppose first branch, and then you will create the branch. And now if you want to point out to your branch, then you need to activate it, right? Like in Conda environment, you create environment and then you need to activate it. So the same way you need to activate it. For that you can do git checkout, and then the name of that same branch which you choose, first branch. And then if you want to add any new file, then you can work on that branch, and then everything will be in this branch. It will not be in the master branch, it will be on your first branch. So later on, like I will explain, like if you want to merge this to your, like once you do every changes and then you are sure that everything is good, then in order to merge you need to again activate your master branch. So you do checkout and then do master, and then you can do git merge. So you need to be in master first, and then from once you are in master, then you put git merge and then the branch where you are working. So first branch, and when you use this concept, then it will merge into masters. And then from again your local repository, you can push to the branch where you are into the remote one. Okay, so hopefully this will help. If you understand this concept, the next video I'm going to talk about the practical implication, practical implementation of this concept. So I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you.